Freedom has many difficulties, and democracy is not perfect. But we have never had to put a wall up to keep our people in, to prevent them from leaving us.
Yeah. Woo.
So say, everyone, today is our country's national holiday. Today is a day to be proud of our country and to stand as one, to stand united as Americans. Just want to say thank you for coming out and celebrating this with us today.
Woo.
Now, I hear the word hero a lot, and sometimes I think that a lot of our words get misdefined or overused. But I want to say the next guest is a hero. It's Colonel Jack Jackson, Colonel of the Marine Corps, retired state rep, and he's a hero, and I'm glad he's here today. Thank you.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. And I always like to, it tickles me when I give a speech, I hear somebody say, "Can you hear me in the back?" And somebody back there will holler, "No." Well, how did you just hear that? So anyway, I'm here to talk to you about victims and communism. And I had some prepared remarks. But I've had the pleasure of meeting several of you, and I've just put them back in my pocket. And I'm going to talk to you from my heart.
All right.
I have been to communist countries. I have been to Russia, Moscow, and I fought 13 months in Vietnam. You know, someone said, "Is that bothering you?" Let me tell you something, folks. I've had communists shoot at me, so turning up a speaker doesn't matter. Matter of fact, they're pretty good shots. They shot me down twice, but I got even. So anyway, I hold no animosity towards those soldiers who fought valiantly for a cause they did not know. And so, having said that, the victims of communism, victims, as I understand it, is someone who's suffering, someone who's paid a price, both physically and mentally. Communism institutes that. When you put those two things together, you have got a terrible, terrible situation. And I'm going to tell you a story, and if it turns your stomach, I'm sorry. But it is real, and I can see it was like it was yesterday. I was south of Da Nang. I was flying helicopters at the time. I was a Marine pilot. And we got an emergency medevac call. Says, "You got to come and help us." They were overridden, the communists have overridden a village. And when we got there, see that little baby that she's holding? We picked up a little baby like that crying and hadn't been fed. And that reminded me when she walked up here, I thought, I ought to let her speak. But a brother got on who was about 9 on the chopper. We had to shoot our way in and we shot our way out. And I later found out that the communists had overrun that village. And the chief had said, "I am not going to support you." They strapped him up, slaughtered each one of his 5 children right in front of him. The communists did that. And then they killed his pregnant wife by stabbing her in the stomach. And then they cut his legs off and left him to die. And so, having said all of that, that is real in my mind. And don't think it can't happen. Don't give up. They're there. They're real. They don't care about us. They just want your money. They just want your money. And having said that, I want to continue on with just something else. When I was in Moscow, no one would smile. No one would smile. And having said that, if I smiled back, then they would smile. Because they knew that someone cared about it. They knew that there was a free world that they could come to. And they could come and say, I'm glad to be here. I don't know how much time I've got, but I will share this story with you. When I was invited, I didn't know much about your organization other than I hated communism. They tried to kill me, and they killed some friends of mine. My Vietnam veteran buddy back there. We weren't appreciated much when we got home. And so having said that, no. Hey, wait. Leave them alone. I fought to give them that right. And they haven't. They didn't earn it. Those of us who put the uniform on, and 58,000 men whose names are on the wall in Washington, gave them that right. They didn't earn it. Well, leave them alone. We gave it to them. Let them use it. Also, I want to say that when I saw that happen, when I got home from Vietnam, we weren't appreciated by any stretch of the imagination. So let me wrap this speech up. I want to just say I saw some things that were pretty brutal. Where's that little girl? Where's that mother with that little girl? She go? Come here. I want to give you 2 reasons to continue to stay. What's this little girl's name? Miss Daisy? And what's your name? Daisy and Cheyenne. There's 2 reasons right there to continue the fight for American freedom. I'm going to wrap it up. You know, politicians always say, God bless America. And when I hear that, I say this. You're special today. You're very special. So I want God to bless you, each and every one of you. For when He blesses you, He has blessed America. Thank you very much.
USA.
Very
USA.
much, Colonel Jackson. I'm going to invite Orlando Luis Pardo Lasso, who is also a part of our VOC board of directors. He's going to come up and share his story next.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for being here, for inviting me, victims of communism. My name is Orlando Pardo. I come from Havana, Cuba. I should be singing there because I know all of those songs. De piedra pobre de la tierra. I know all those songs because I was forced to learn them. American songs, American music, American literature, evil, censored and not circulating in the country. Cuban authors who happen to commit the crime to go to exile. Cuban authors who happen to commit the crime to think different from the government. They were not published in Cuba, they didn't circulate in Cuba. Eventually, I became a Cuban author. Eventually, I thought a little, slightly different from the Cuban government. I do not belong to any political group in Cuba, but I was labeled by them and by my friends there as a gusano, a worm, a vermin. Yes, it's better to be a worm and a vermin than a tyrant and a genocide.
All right.
Long live los gusanos, long live worms. Anyway, it's a very derogatory term, and it was expressed for the first time by Fidel Castro, the same man that took homosexuals, religious, and intellectuals into concentration camps or labor camps. Because work, forced work, it's supposed to turn homosexuals into revolutionaries in communist Cuba. That happened
during the 60s and the 70s. Nowadays, Cuba is trying to give a different image. Nowadays, Cuba is trying to sell the country, the government is trying to sell the country as an alternative to the injustices and social problems here in America, which are a lot, of course, like every society. In Cuba, we don't have social problems. In Cuba, we don't have racism. In Cuba, we don't have discrimination or salary inequality. Or maybe we cannot say it. In Cuba, there is no crime in the streets. Police are not shooting people in the streets. Or maybe we need to find that in the news from American magazines or Spain or Mexico, because we don't got that news in Cuba. So my message to you is very simple. I love that they have the freedom to express it, but I also find disrespectful. It's very disrespectful with immigrants. It's very disrespectful with people of colors to be here trying to disrupt the message, because you can make your act 5 minutes before and 5 minutes later, and you are welcome to join and listen. But the state, the totalitarians, those who have found the scientific rules of history, those who have created utopia on earth, they have the right to take away your rights, because they have the absolute truth and you have nothing. You are just workers. You are owners of factories. You are exploiters and exploitees. So communism has a very terrible arrogance. If without power they are able to disrupt me, an immigrant trying to remake my life in America, imagine what they do to you when they become ministers for life. We had Fidel Castro for 60 years. Now we are going to have the same with Raúl Castro and then Miguel Díaz-Canel, etc. It's the model of the system. Maybe Fidel is not to blame. Maybe Raúl is not to blame. The system doesn't work. And just to finish, they tell me, in theory, communism works. But in practice, it goes wrong. No! Communism doesn't work in theory. In practice, maybe it failed. I think it failed in practice. But in theory, it's still working. They have the idea, like the hero mentioned here, that your money, probably you have a second purse like that in your house. One of them is a theft. It belongs to somebody else. Probably you have a second mobile, sir. One of them is a theft. Property is a theft. That's the idea. When they have the power to implement that, this microphone, victims of communism, is a theft. The money that you are paying to rent this place is a theft. Eventually, the only thing that is not a theft for communists is what they do. Their money, their grants, their international conspiration, that's good because it's for social justice. The concept of social justice, we cannot allow them to sequester the concept. They don't care about society and they don't care about justice. How come they can care about social justice? Thank you very much. God bless you all and God bless America.
Woo! All right.
Gracias, Orlando. Next we have another one of our longtime VOC St. Louis supporters and volunteers, Igor Proleko.
All right.
I got that. I got it.
Well, I am not able to match the passion of my dear friend. But everything is in the spot on. Now, what I want to speak about is the fact that the ability to express and your own opinion and be available to louder, I see. All right, so what I want to mention that is the fact that the communist society, as Orlando said, they believe that they hold absolute truth. As a result, any dissent you try to express, it becomes a crime. So far as I know, no communist society was able to survive without making sure that people don't speak up what they disagree with. In 1980s, I had a computer science friend, and he said that the most dangerous thing for the communists is ability for computers to reach outside of their control. Now, 40 years pass by, and in places like China, you really cannot access the internet freely. You need to use some special technology to make sure you do. The communism does not survive if the information is freely available and if people can share what they see and what they think. Because sometimes even the yesterday's weather becomes state secret. So what you see outside your window, people you speak with, if they're not within the control of the ruling party, and despite the fact that they do claim that they're egalitarian, they immediately begin to come up with a terminology like the vanguard of the working class, or even better, the sword and shield of the working class. And when these people get power, they never give it back. See, in the country I was born, well, does no longer exist, but the country which replaced it, the same people hold power because they did learn during the communist time how to occupy this position of power and never give it back. So as far as the solidarity of the working people is concerned, they don't really mean it. Because when the workers begin to demand the rights different from what the party expresses, the workers become enemies of the state. Look up what happened in Cherokee in 1962. Because the workers demanded better working conditions. So the communists, they're trying to deceive people in saying that, well, they're all for social justice and freedoms of the classes. They don't mean it on individual level. This freedom only exists in as much as party defines it. And that is why, I mean, I wouldn't say that the communists should not be allowed to speak, but people should be listening from the point of view of information rather than from the point of view of ignorance. And then basically all I want to say. Thank you.
Woo!
Okay, and last but not least, we have another VOC St. Louis supporter and someone who actually spoke also very passionately yesterday
85 people, which
at
includes
the Board of Aldermen meeting in St. Louis where there was a resolution for Loyalty Day that unfortunately was passed along to committee. But we had great testimony from our next speaker, from Lena, who's also with us today. But our next speaker is again one of our volunteers, one of our newer volunteers, Dr. Juan Torres. Cascarano, sorry.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for staying here. It's an honor. I have to appreciate thank you guys for the background music that give like more dramatism to the speech. That's wonderful. And I appreciate the fact that you are here listening to us because they all know what communism is about. You don't know because I know that one of the guys there is gay like me because I'm gay. I'm an homosexual. And if a gay guy would know what communists do to gays, they wouldn't be there. I know that he's gay, and I know that he doesn't know what he's doing, and because it's fault. So in Venezuela, I learned that ignorance is the only illness that lasts 24 hours. And I invite you to educate yourself a little more and to practice the empathy that you all fight for. Because you fight for empathy, but I want to ask you, where is the empathy toward ourselves? You are not having empathy, you just have empathy or sympathy actually for the people that support your ideas. So if we live in the United States and we are Americans, of course I don't have that privilege yet, I'm a resident, but I feel myself as American even before I moved to this country. I love this country, and that's something that we all have to go, even then. We all love our country, but there's people who have different ways to show love, you know? So some people show the right way to love the right way, and some people doesn't know how to love. So that's something that we have to learn. I came to the United States 4 years ago. I did it because my 10 years relationship partner, he was a staff, and he's real. In the hospital that we were working. I'm a general surgeon. He was doing the residency in anesthesiology. When he was working, he got attacked by 2 demonstrators. he got stabbed and he got a wound on his head with a gun. So the thing is like in the investigation, as the government of Venezuela, they didn't want to show that our hospital was unsafe because it was a public hospital. They made everyone believe that he stabbed himself. It was not anatomically a way that he could stab himself, according where the wound was. That was something counterproductive. It wasn't a way. So of course they made him to sign that he stabbed himself. Because if he wouldn't do it, he was going to die. Under whatever excuse that they would have invented. So me as his partner, I cannot tell. I couldn't say that it was his partner. Because being gay in Venezuela is not legal. Actually, it's not illegal either, but if you say that you are gay, the bullying is something so severe that you could be killed. Thank you so much. I can suggest where I get my watch, okay? So the thing is like, when I got into the hospital, I have to pretend that I was his brother because they wouldn't allow me to get that hospital. What's the thing? We weren't in our hometown. We were in Caracas, alone with our family, and he didn't have anyone to support him in that moment. So the only thing that I could say is like, I'm his brother, thankfully we look alike, and they allowed me to get in. Even I got a TV news interview saying that I was his brother. Even if you find on YouTube Juan Campos, my name is not, my last name is Castorano, no Campos. If you find Juan Campos, you're gonna see the interview 6 years ago, me pretending to be his brother, and saying what happened. So, all these things, we moved back to our hometown. He continued with his residency in anesthesia, and after 3 years of study, medical study, they didn't let him to graduate because they say that he wasn't mentally capable to be a doctor. And the proof and the evidence that they showed was the signature that they made him to do. And toward myself, because they knew that I was his partner, of course, although these are not legal, they didn't allow me to be a surgeon in Venezuela. I couldn't work as a doctor. And doctors in Venezuela, they don't have a good income like here. We made like, when I was living there, I was making $3. Money, $3. I was being supported economically by my parents. Because being a doctor, I couldn't survive. So the thing is like, I couldn't work as a doctor anywhere in Venezuela, and I ended up selling auto parts to some stores. So I say, if I want to sell auto parts here, and I'm not going to make money, I'd rather go into the United States where I could do the same, and I could make a little more. Thankfully, I came to the most beautiful country in the world. I think this country have democracy settled down, because it has it. We have threats around people that they don't know what communist is. There's people I respect. I don't belong to any political party in the States. I'm not a Republican, I'm not a Democrat. Actually, I'm independent and I don't feel affiliation to any political group. It's something that I want to make myself. I want to make myself clear. People that I respect liberals and I respect conservatives because we all are, we say in Venezuela like siblings, you know, we all are in the same country, but I invite all to discern the difference between being a liberal and being a communist. Some people share communist ideas and they call themselves liberal, and that's wrong. And some conservatives call every liberal communist. They are not, they all are communists. It's something that we have to teach. It's something that we have to learn. I call you all to work together. We don't have to be attacking each other. We don't have to be disrespectful to each other. I invite you to practice the empathy that you fight for, because you're fighting for empathy. And I invite you to educate yourself. I don't know if you went to Venezuela or Cuba to be indoctrinated, but the thing is like, learn a little more about this experience. There's a guy that I know there, and he never had talked to me in the gym, but I know him.
And I invite yourself to know more about what happened to me. And that happened in every communist country. So it's a threat. I was with someone here, and his friends were communists. And I remember that the way that they say hi to each other was, how is that revolution going? I have a post-traumatic stress when I hear the word revolution. I hate the word revolution. French Revolution killed so many people. Cuban Revolution killed so many people. Russian Revolution, they just didn't destroy a monarchy. Okay, they didn't agree with the monarchy. Nicholas II was being a dictator in some way. But why do you have to kill an entire family with kids? That's violence. That's violence because they don't want us to be heard. We want to speak like all. We want to use their right of speech as you are fighting for. So, again, thank you for the music in the background because it gives me like more dramatism to my speech. I know in that way it could get into your heart. I'm pretty open for all the suggestions that you have to me and to know myself a little more. Thank you for being here or for listening to me. Have a good day.
Actually, I think Kim said that was when I was here last year, but actually, Adela, you were going to speak, so we want to make sure you have an opportunity to. And real quick, the irony is the music we're listening to, I'm pretty sure those artists are doing have probably more money than me. That's kind of the irony.
Hello, everybody. I am happy to be here. I am blessed to be here, America. I have had the opportunity, 1980, to welcome 125,000 Cubans. 125,000 Cubans started by Castro. This started by Castro. He emptied his jail, he emptied his hospital, he mental institution. You don't believe it? Yes, it was true. It was sad. It was my first introduction to the society. And I heard them. Many of them, they wanted to be in a free society. They wanted to remain in jail because that's all they knew. Because if you don't do what you are told, you are going to be put in jail. You know? So I have lived that. And I say, God, give me the strength to keep on going. I had met people from Chile, in 1975. I had met people from Venezuela. I visited Venezuela in the 60s. So I know it doesn't exist anymore. What I knew, I had Europe and I had a lot of people coming together and celebrate. Now it's all tears. Quite a few people are applying for political asylum. And I support that because what they had was taken away from them. I may testify to that. That's wrong. That is not in the United States of America. I come from a military background and I travel. But you know what? I learned to appreciate my land even though sometimes I was not here. And I'll say to you, USA! USA!
USA! USA! USA! USA!
America the beautiful! Don't ever forget the land of the free where we have no personnel people come and talk. But it's teaching us. USA!
USA!
Don't be afraid!
USA! USA! USA!
Viva America! Go America! The freedom of the free! Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was the last of our speakers. I just want to say our event was planned to go till 2 o'clock, so please, I encourage everyone to, we have people from China, Venezuela, Cuba, Soviet Union, all these places. If you're not from those countries, you might want to take an opportunity to talk to those people and kind of listen to them, because really that's what's going to make things resonate. You talk to, like I said, I grew up here. They grew up here. We were able to make our own choices. We had a choice to read Marx and Lenin and those things. Everyone else was forced to. And they were. Then they came here and were able to see the difference. So talk to them. Also, just a last mention that yesterday when the Board of Aldermen was debating whether to issue a proclamation recognizing Loyalty Day, which they really was a long debate against it, President Joe Biden was actually issuing his own proclamation recognizing the day, like every president did. His proclamation is over on the table and on the chalkboard if you want to read what he said today. It just brings end to the point that our organization is a nonpartisan organization. We get support from every party, every walk of life. Ironically, in 2019, Ted Cruz spoke at an event called the Triumph of Liberty event in Washington, D.C., as Adam Schiff served as the host committee while impeaching Donald Trump. So the one thing that we all learned is that we have our differences, but we know communism isn't going to be the right thing for us. So take time, please stay till 2. If you want to go to another event at 2:30, they're hosting one. So anyway, thanks again for coming. I really appreciate it. And help yourself. Yeah, please stay in chat.